Hello, hello. I've got a delightfully short presentation for you. It is one slide. I do have some notes here, and I'm going to walk you through why this is important, I think, and what picks and shovels means in the Web3 world. So first, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to introduce BCB Group, a company I founded in 2017, and for which we have some amazing representation here today. I'm going to give you a super simple model I like to use when I think about infrastructure and how it applies to how the internet has evolved from a Web 1 world through Web 2, Web 3. I want to actually put a fine point on each of those, give you a little data on what that means, and then for a moment just understand what are the actual picks and shovels that apply to Web 3. And I'll finish off again with why it's important to me. Now, this is a high-level conversation. It is not technical. And I've decided to keep it quite simple and quite high-level because what I realized when I joined the conference yesterday was that there's a broad mix of people here, people of many disciplines, and I heard one person say out loud, "What is a DAO?" I won't mention names, Ian, but that came up. The other reason is that it's the tail end of day 2 of the conference, and you're all looking forward to beer o'clock, so I'm going to keep it pretty high level. About me, my name's Oliver von Landsberg-Sadie. I founded BCB Group in 2017 in London. Originally to service liquidity in crypto, but quickly pivoted into providing essential payment services for companies who operate in this market. So this is a bunch of the brands that you've seen walking around today, we are lucky enough to count as our clients. Specifically, we provide the payment rail so that if for example, a market maker or an exchange needs to take a deposit or make a payout, the underlying bank accounts, if you're in UK, Europe, Switzerland, are highly likely to be a BCB Group account. So BCB Group, then, in a nutshell, is that. It's payment services. We also offer foreign exchange services, then treasury management services, which gives you a little pickup on your fiat positions, which are doing not too well right now in a negative interest rate environment and in a very disturbingly recessionary environment. And the basic picks and shovels that that we've learned the hard way this market needs. What do Web3 companies need? That's kind of what we're here to provide. But again, winding back to basics, the way I view infrastructure, a super simple model, I think of it as a board game. So I think about the rules. This is the regulatory environment. I think about the chips or the monetary tokens. So this is the value transfer, the value storage, value management. I'm thinking about the actual board itself. So this is to mapping this to this world is what is running the software, what is orchestrating the link between software and the real world. Then there's the story. Where does information live and how do we manage that information? And finally, interaction. How do the players on this board game interact with each other? So this model, again, it's the rules, it's the chips, it's the board, it's the story, and it's the interaction that us as players, individuals or as businesses, that kind of 5-point model as a simplification for infrastructure. So let's see how that played out in Web 1. Web 1 is, of course, way information everywhere. It is originally highly decentralized, ironically, where any computer could act either as a browser or as a server or as a relay to other servers. It was the e-commerce revolution. It was Amazon, it was eBay. And the disruption that Web 1 offered, of course, was where do we do business? It's moving it off brick and mortar and online. So looking at it through that 5-point infrastructure model, what are we looking at? The rules are, well, these are governed basically by real-world commercial regs, but starting to test international boundaries in a kind of an internet which is natively borderless. How do we monitor that? So the rules, the chips, well, you're paying with credit card or you're paying with PayPal. I'm going to race through this because Web 1 is not interested in anymore. This is a 2000 story. The board, it's the decentralized TCP/IP network. It's with DNS giving meaningful names. Rolling back to the rules quick. Yeah, the story. I mean, the data is on one computer. The story of Web 1 is that's where it lives on one computer. And of course, the interaction, businesses are center stage, and comms are by email. Right? Super simple. We move ahead to Web 2. This is the 2010s. This is self-publishing. This is Twitter. This is Facebook, making money off your personal data. This is YouTube, TikTok, Twitch. This is lack of interoperability. This is centralization. And the disruption Web 2 brought us was, of course, who controls the content. This is no longer centralized news broadcasters, the traditional media. This is you. This is like putting your own shit out there and making money off it. But not quite enough, because if you're streaming stuff on Spotify or YouTube, the royalties you're getting are fractional. So back to some of the earlier topics on alignment of incentives. Of course, rolling to Web 3, we've got a better model for how to reward content. The board, of course, the board component in that Web 2, that was centralized entities like Google, Facebook, Twitter. The story is, of course, where the data is, it's on cloud servers. It's still fairly centralized. And the interaction, of course, the user takes center stage. We take center stage. Any individual can make money from content. And comms evolve from email to DM, WhatsApp, Insta, whatever. Web 3 rolls in. Ethereum is, of course, the first to bring standardized data and applications and do it in a super decentralized way. Everything is open source. Everything is about composability. Everything is about creating bits that other cool startups can use and combine to create their own value props. The disruption Web 3 brought us post-Web 2 was, of course, the definition of money. This is where governments get a little uncomfortable. This is where regulators start to worry. This is where the power balance shifts from central places like central banks to software engineers, which is a pretty cool shift in power. Infrastructure for Web 3, what does that look like? So in general terms, the rules. Well, now that we're starting to make regulators worry about the definition of money, the shift in power balance from centralized organizations to effectively software engineers and anybody participating, regulators take note. Regulations advance at different paces in different parts of the world, but a core infrastructural lens here is that affects everybody at this conference is regs today and how they evolve. The chips, of course, the chips are tokens. These are tokens on the layer 1 protocols, as your Bitcoin, Ether, Solana. This is stable coins as well. This is a new medium of transfer that is on a blockchain, but is one-to-one, hopefully, with a fiat currency. And of course, fiat itself. Part of a Web3 world, this Web3 world, people wouldn't be able to pay their bills or attend this conference in general if there wasn't a fiat component somewhere in that value chain. So it's tempting to think of Web3 as everything crypto, but fiat is an essential component. It is an essential unit of value there. The board, these are decentralized nodes. These are running. This is all the good stuff that's come out since 2009. All of the cool layer 1 protocols, all of the layer 2s that build value on those layer 1s. These are market infrastructure protocols. These are decentralized markets like Aave, Compound, and my secret favorite, Mango. And banks. Again, when we think about Web3, we kind of think it's an all crypto world, but banks are an essential part of the board component of that model. Where is data? Well, data is very redundant. It's on the blockchain. It's everywhere. And what is the interaction? Well, in this Web3 world, we vote either with electricity, in the case of Bitcoin, or we vote with money, proof of stake in Ethereum latest iteration, list, etc. All the kind of consensus protocols, and the yeah. So what does this mean? What are the picks and shovels, and why is it important? It's obvious we're not going backwards. It's obvious that this is we're past the point of no return. We are in a Web3 world. Some people are starting to think, what the hell is Web4 going to be all about? But for me, the long-term value that's interesting to me to build and to invest in is that infrastructural play. What are those businesses building core components that map to that super simplified model that are actually going to take us through the next few decades of progress? So on the rules side, reg tech is obviously center stage. This is chain analysis to understand where crypto value is moving from and to. This is the likes of elliptic, chain analysis, and similar. This is transaction monitoring on the fiat layer, like Napier, like Compliant Vantage. And it's onboarding and KYC, which is obviously where a lot of the scrutiny is from regulators right now. And you've got providers there like SumSub on Fido, Jumio, a whole bunch. Looking at the chips part of the kind of 5-pillar model, whatever the hell you want to call it. What are the infrastructure components there? What are the picks and shovels? Well, of course, where do you keep it? This is the custodial and wallet tech. This is platforms which also then aggregate those wallets and their tech, like Fireblocks and like Copper. This is bank accounts and fiat payment services. Again, an essential part of Web3, often omitted from a Web3 conversation. This is where BCB Group comes into play. This is where Silvergate Bank and Anchorage as a kind of, I guess, another layer up. This is MoonPay. And centralized markets, Bitstamp, Gemini, decentralized markets like Uniswap, Didex, platforms for options and futures that manage the risk, that manage the spot risk. This is FTX, Deribit, etc. The board, these are blockchain interoperability platforms like Cosmos. How do we get blockchains speaking to each other? These are the wormholes between one and the other. This is decentralized computing like Dfinity 2 talks ago. The story component, where does data live? Well, we have the picks and shovels on the data side are what is the price of what we're looking at. So Crypto Compare as an example of a benchmark that is observable, or on blockchain oracles like Chainlink for off-chain data, or like the OG price prediction protocol Augur. What are we talking about? We're talking about shared storage like Filecoin. We're talking about Internet of Things, where blockchain tech meets real tech. Storage like Helium for IoT data. And finally, interaction. How are we communicating with each other? Well, first of all, in a Web3 world, your name, in Web1 world, your name is your email address. In Web2, let's call it your username. In Web3, it's your your wallet address. And you don't have to go and remember your 0x54 characters. You've got unstoppable domains that can go and compress that into your own identity and map it to whatever blockchain. So first of all, on that comms piece, who are you? That's the kind of the new name service picks and shovels component. And what are you communicating? You're communicating data, or you're communicating value, or you're communicating an NFT. Browser wallets like MetaMask and Phantom, these are your new DMs. So look, not a super complicated message. I think it's useful to attempt to simplify what infrastructure means in a Web3 world, because that's where the long-term value is to be built. I've attempted to distill that model into a kind of a board game analogy where we've got the board, we've got the story, we've got the chips, how we're interacting with it. and of course the rules. And it has been a pleasure to have the opportunity to introduce myself and to introduce BCB Group, a core infrastructure partner for so many people here. And we're so grateful to have you as our infrastructure clients. And this is how we're going to build the Web3 world. It's understanding those picks and shovels, and it's getting involved in every project that can bring us closer to transitioning this world from an analog, inefficient world to a digital, decentralized, much more interesting space. That's all I have for you, and thanks for your time, and go enjoy beer o'clock.